The United States and South Korea have begun large-scale joint military drills. But behind the show of strength lies a growing concern. South Korea's military is shrinking. A new report warns that the country is short of tens of thousands of troops, not because of strategy or spending, but because of something far more fundamental, a collapsing birth rate.
South Korea has one of the most powerful militaries in the world. It's mainly for deterrence against heavily armed arch-rival North Korea and other regional powers. But South Korea is running short of troops. A new Defense Ministry report says it needs another 50,000 soldiers for full combat readiness. In 2005, the South Korean army had 690,000 soldiers. That's now fallen to 450,000 in 2025. In just the last 6 years, the population of 20-year-old men declined by 35%. Birth rates are falling around the globe, especially in developed countries. But South Korea has the lowest birth rate in the world. The high cost of living and lack of support for working mothers discourages women from having babies, despite government subsidies to encourage having children. South Korea's defense budget is larger than North Korea's whole economy. But with fewer and fewer soldiers, the future of its military readiness is in doubt.
Well, for more on this, let's bring in Jenny Town here. She's a senior fellow at the Stimson Center. That's a U.S. think tank. She's director of Stimson's 38 North program, which provides analysis of events in and around North Korea. Thanks for being with us. So it's estimated that South Korea needs 50,000 more soldiers for full defense readiness. What does this shortage mean in practical terms for South Korea's ability to deter threats and defend itself?
Well, it's a very complicated picture, really. I think there's a lot of questions about, not only the number of troops, the training levels of troops these days, but the future of the South Korean military and how to be able to maintain enough ground forces in case of an actual war in South Korea. And so the idea of readiness is not just about can you field a battle, but really if there is ever an invasion, the way that Russia invaded Ukraine, for instance, and you have to fight a ground war, how does South Korea's military stack up against North Korea's larger military in terms of size, even though smaller in terms of actual force power? So it's really a problem that has been growing over the years, and that there isn't really easy answers to, because it really requires a look at a lot of kind of fundamental social issues that aren't being addressed right now.
You mentioned Ukraine, and we're seeing in Ukraine what a difference, say, drones and other military hardware can make. Could advanced military technology not help make up for the shortfall in troop numbers for South Korea?
It definitely does help. South Korea's military, as it said, used to be up to about 690,000, is one of the largest militaries in the world. It's still the 5th largest military in the world and the 5th most powerful military in the world. And I think there are plans in terms of the defense reform to try and implement and try and integrate greater advancements in unmanned military and defenses, but it only goes so far. At the end of the day, again, if there is an actual war, wars are going to be endured and fought on the ground. So you can have some tactical advancements and tactical advantages by having more advanced technology in your military. But at the end of the day, if you need boots on the ground, that's something where South Korea is really going to be lacking over the next several years if these trends continue in the direction they're going.
South Korea's military is currently holding those drills right now with the United States. Would you say South Korea's declining birth rate makes the country more dependent on allies like the United States?
Potentially. It's really hard to say. I think there are a lot of questions here. One, in terms of, does South Korea really need to maintain that force size? And so a lot of it is really based on the numbers and the size of North Korea's military, but not necessarily the ferocity of North Korea's military. And that has changed over the years. And North Korea is also going through a demographic crisis, not as
Mm.
pronounced as North Korea's, but it's definitely not going up. There are also 3 million, reserve forces in South Korea. So there are ways in which they can supplement if they have to. I think there's bigger questions about the level of training, because as the force sizes shrink, and as the popularity, for instance, of joining the military really declines, the number of months, even in the conscription, is only
Mm.
it's down to about 18 months. So how well trained are these soldiers on even the technologies that exist there, on fighting techniques? So,
Sure.
does it make it more dependent? I'm not sure that it does yet, but it certainly creates a level of urgency to try and deal with, and set the expectations of what the force is going to look like in the future.
Jenny, thank you very much. That was Korea analyst Jenny Town.